Hello, welcome to Cat's Got Your Tongue. This is the ultimate podcast. If you love cats, you are very much in the right place if you are passionate about cat ownership. This podcast is made in association with the charity Cats Protection. My name's Adam Brown, cat obsessive, cat enthusiast, and proud cat dad to my beautiful semi-long-haired calico cat Cinnamon. She is stunning, and I just adore spending time with her in my house. And I've had her since, December 2024. So, you know, we're quite a way into me having ownership of her now. And it's kind of an interesting dynamic. She's getting more and more chilled out. And recently, because she's an indoor cat, she has got into a little bit of a standoff with one of the neighbourhood cats through the conservatory window. And I sort of caught her kind of staring him out. I mean, the thing is, I thought she's got so much confidence to actually do that. This cat's twice the size of her. It's like if she was outside, she wouldn't stand a chance against him. But nevertheless, she's acting tough from the comfort of the nice soft carpet in the conservatory. So yeah, she doesn't know she's born, that cat. So this podcast is the place to find out more about cats. And also we delve into the world of cats when it comes to our celebrity guests as well. We find out a bit more about their cats and what their cats mean to them. We've got another celebrity guest lined up for you today. You're going to love this. Let's crack on with it. This is Cat's Got Your Tongue. Now, each week on Cat's Got Your Tongue, I'm joined by a cat-owning guest to talk about, you know, life with their pet and just cats in general, really, and just a chance to just chat about cats, essentially. And this episode, I'm so excited to say we're joined by the brilliant comedian Stewart Lee. Stewart, thanks so much for joining us, mate. We're really excited about having you on.
Great, thanks for having me.
I think a good place to always start, which we do with all our guests, is just to kind of get a bit of an insight into, you know, have you always been a cat person? Have you got cats currently? Have you always had cats? Just a brief sort of, you know, insight into your sort of life with cats.
Okay, well, I wasn't a cat person. I would have preferred dogs. And then when I was about 13, we were at my auntie's in the Cotswolds, and it was near a farm. And the farm were getting rid of some cats. And there was one that we just really loved, a little black cat who his mother had been in a Whiskers advert, I remember. And he was the runt of the litter. He was the smallest one. It was a female. She was the smallest one. And we took her home, and I really loved her as a teenager. And then when I left home, my mum had her for like about 15, 16, 17 years. She lived to be really old. And so I really loved that cat. But I kind of forgot about it until about 10, probably about 15 years ago. My wife surprised me with a cat, because I'd always talked about how much I liked the one I'd had as a kid. And it was identical, another small black kitten, the smallest one of the litter. And I was really freaked out, because I kind of felt like I didn't want the responsibility, as well as doing gigs and getting in late at night and having a new baby and everything, of the cat. But it was absolutely great. And that cat, which we called Boo Boo, was a massive sort of lifeline for me. When the kids were little, I was doing lots of gigs all the time, and I used to get in at night and everyone would be asleep except perhaps a baby, which would wake up and I'd look after it. And this cat had that brilliant sort of indifference that cats have, but it would seem to know when it was required, and it would come and sit with me when I'd got in late with his stupid stand-up adrenaline rush and couldn't sleep. And it was just like it was like my link to the world when I was just seemed to be alone or working all the time or awake when no one else was. And this cat was this real centre of my nighttime existence. That was brilliant.
Yeah, do you know, I that really resonates with me, that Stuart, because on Monday to Friday I'm a radio presenter, and so I work at Radio X. So I find that I'm sometimes, the hours that I do, sometimes I'll be alone at weird times, or other people are asleep or whatever, and it's weird. I think, again, not in some ways similar to doing stand-up, I suppose. You kind of have that high, that buzz,
yeah,
and then when you get back in, it's gone suddenly, and it's kind of that. What do I do now? Like, there's no one to talk to or whatever, and having that cat there just as a presence.
Yeah, just a presence.
Yeah, and I find it very calming. Do you see that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think as long as you've got a cat, you're okay, right? Because they're just sort of there, they create a narrative to my day. You know, when I come down, I've got two now, and they're sort of hanging around together. Also, they're not like dogs. I find really needy and desperate and weak, and there's just I've got enough of that in my life as it is, having to be accountable to people or worry about things. I like the fact that the cat is sort of there. But it's not really bothered about anything. I find it, but it is alive and it's living in your place, and they make me so happy. Dogs really stress me out and upset me. I think that if you've got a dog, I think there's something wrong with you. To be honest, I think you must have some deficiency in your personality that you need to be loved by a dog and then to be in charge of it. Whereas cats are just kind of they give you the impression that they can take it or leave it, you know. And then that's partly why their affection or their slightest interest in you means so much. So yeah, they're just brilliant. And I think I could live anywhere under any circumstances, either alone or whatever, as long as I had at least one cat, I'd be fine.
I think it's
Do you
interesting.
know anyone that's got a dog?
Yeah, I've got a lot of my close friends have got dogs. Yeah,
Really? You get on all
yeah.
right with them?
I'll be honest with you, Stuart. I get on with them, but I find it quite stressful going in a
Yeah,
social situation where they bring the dog with them.
yeah, yeah.
You know, if they say like, "Let's go to the pub," and I'm like, "But the dog's with us," and it's the big, then the pub is then an outing about the dog, and not I can't catch up with a friend because the dog's charging around the place.
I went to quite an important meeting recently, and the main guy brought a dog in with him, a little dachshund, and it kept barking all the way through. It's unbelievable. I mean, the assumption from dog owners that you should be delighted to have this creature come in and like behave in a desperate, neurotic way and make loads of noise and ruin the whole situation is just appalling. I don't know what's wrong with people like that.
And that's why cats have got such a calming presence. And
Yeah,
I think that it's interesting what you said. I picked up on a point that you made there about because they give the impression sometimes that they're not bothered. Any slight thing that they do becomes something to celebrate. You know, if they sit on your knee, it's the best thing ever.
yeah. Well, both the two I've got currently are rescue cats,
Yeah,
and
brilliant.
the smaller one was clearly extremely traumatized by what had happened to him, and it took me about a year and a half to get anything out of him at all, really. And so now, now that he's kind of on nodding terms with me, it's really fantastic. But also, I really, I think I really relate to them. I mean, I was adopted and I grew up in care, and so I think that I relate to the cats in that way. I'm trying to create a secure environment for them, but they're also little bit suspicious of the world as a result of their traumatic beginnings in life. The little one was he was born in a garden where he had 8 siblings, and then the other one was left in a cardboard box on the high street outside the Jehovah's Witnesses church. Someone obviously thought, oh, they'll look after it. But and he was 3 cats in the box, and 2 of them just ran off, and no one knows what happened to them. And he's the last one, and he was instantly at home. I don't know where he'd been before. He was obviously really loved. He was used to being in a domestic situation, and he adapted really well. And he sort of, it was the vets actually. I took the little one into the vets, and the vets had got this other one that had been given to them that had been left in the street, and they noticed that they were getting on well. And this grey cat, the one that was in the street, kind of taught him how to be a cat. He sort of looked after him and gave him the courage to venture outside, and they've got quite a good partnership. So yeah,
Oh, so what are the names then?
I'm not going to tell you because the grey one went missing for about a month, and so I put posters up everywhere, not with my name on, but with my phone number on.
Ah, right, okay.
And because he's got the sort of name that I would give to a cat, someone who I find slightly frightening worked out that it was my cat and then started phoning me all the time. So I'm not going to I can't give away my cats' names because they're so obviously the names that I would give to cats that that people will find out it's me. And I've had to go to the police and everything and create a file about all this. So, but it was worth it to get my cat back. But then in the end, he just turned up. It was fireworks night, and he got out, disappeared for a month, and came back. My sister's boyfriend was working in the garden, and he just suddenly came over the fence and heard him, and he was a bit thin and confused, but within a couple of days he was all right. I was so glad to get him back. But I went out night after night for a month between about 1 and 3 in the morning, cycling round and round, trying to find him. And I became aware of this incredible nighttime world where cats hang out with foxes in the housing estates and they'll all sit around. Then in the middle of the night, incredible pedigree cats that are worth thousands of pounds seem to be wandering about. I think their owners maybe let them out in the middle of the night when they're not going to get robbed or whatever. It was incredible, the world of cats at night. Also, I got phoned up all the time by people about thinking they'd seen the cat, and 90% of the people that phoned me up were so great. There were quite a lot of old ladies would ring me up just wanting to talk about cats. Actually, that was all right. I'm now a foster carer for cats for the cat charity. I've got a spare room, and so if there's a cat in between being found and housed, I'll have it for a few days. And most of the people that rang me up when the cat was lost were absolutely brilliant, and I learned about this whole world of cats and cat owners.
Do you find that it becomes, like you say, having a cat for me I find it much more suitable with my lifestyle. So
Yeah.
For me, I was always worried about getting a pet. I only got my first cat 5 years ago, and I've become, well, quite, as you can probably tell.
Look at you. You're presenting a podcast about it. You got cats.
I'm making up for lost time, Stuart, honestly. So I've really, really sort of like lent into it, and I've been quite a fully fledged cat guy.
Yeah,
now.
it works for me. Yeah, it works for me being away and stuff.
Yeah, and I used to always kind of worry about the responsibility and things. But actually, I found that having a cat really, really does work for me, and there's so many aspects of it which completely, suit what I want to get from it, and for me, that is the cat's in control of that, and that's fine for me.
Another thing I like is when I go off for long blocks of time touring, I normally will find someone to live here a bit, some musician or other comedian or touring person. And during that time, the cat is as happy with them as it would be with me. It doesn't really make any difference to the cat. It's just a person comes in for a bit, and then I come back and I take over. And it's just not. They're just not. They're just great like that. And the people really like them that come in through here. But they're not bothered. They go somewhere else if they prefer it. I mean, that's another thing is my mum's second cat. The people 3 doors down, they suddenly had kids. The kids were noisy. The cat decided to spend all day at my mum's instead. And then when the people moved, they went, "This cat has decided to live with you, hasn't it?" And she went, "Yeah." They went, "Well, you better keep it." That's what they'll do. You can't really do much about it. They're gonna, if they're gone, they're gone. I mean, it's bad. I think of people. You shouldn't probably feed someone else's cat unless it's absolutely made it clear that it wants to go to your house. But really, they'll choose where they live.
Yeah, they're very adaptable, aren't they, cats? They seem to just, yeah. Do you feel like, do you sometimes, when you're out, you're on tour or whatever, did you miss your cats?
Oh yeah, I do. I miss them a lot. Yeah, yeah. But no, normally whoever's there, I get them to send me photos of what they're doing. Yeah. What they're doing mainly is they're lying around and eating. So it doesn't make much difference.
Yeah, if I go on holiday and my mum and dad look after my cat, and I'll ring every day, and my mum goes, "You never ring this often when you're at home." And I'm like, "I know," but she's like, I'll FaceTime my mum, and she's like, "You just want to see your cat, don't you?" But honestly, I really have sort of withdrawal symptoms from being around my cat if I'm on holiday, and I tend to generally try and pick destinations where I know there's going to be a lot of cats when I go on holiday.
Where's that then?
Yeah, Greece. Yeah, a lot. But then I tend to spend a lot of my time when I'm there just like looking after the cats, trying to feed them, trying to, which for me, I mean, I've done it before. And I remember I went away on a solo holiday a couple of years ago, and that's all I did when I was there. Because when I was on my own, I was like, I'm normally with a cat. So I went there and all I did was feed the cats. And people were saying to me, like, you're meant to be on holiday. I went, but for me, that is the most therapeutic thing that I can do.
Have you been to Rome?
No, I've never been to Rome, actually. No.
Okay, there's a square in Rome. It's in the middle of a square of streets, and it's full of Roman ruins, but you can't get down into it. It's kind of fenced off. You can look down into it. I think it's where I think it's where there's a famous speech by Julius Caesar was made in that square. I forget what it's called. Someone can fact check it. But that square has become where all stray cats in Rome go. And it's just full of cats, and people leave food for them, and it's got this incredible community of hundreds of wild cats living in there. But they're funny in a lot of European cities. They kind of accept there's a massive stray cat issue, but the people are not sentimental about them like we are.
No, I think, do you know what? It seems to be improving in some places. When I went to Greece on holiday last year, I think it was, and you can obviously they've started to do. You can see that the ears get tipped. If they've been spayed and neutered, then that's becoming more common out there, which is good because it will obviously alleviate the problem a little bit. So that I mean, it's different because obviously they are still strays, but it does. I suppose it's kind of getting towards a better place and. They do tend to look after them a little bit more. I think it's getting better, but like you say, there's still a lot of problems, isn't there? Really, Stewart. When you have the sort of the moment with your cat and you communicate with your cat. I don't know about you, but I'll be honest with you. I turn into a bit of a different person. I'm quite like when I get in and I see my cat, I'm suddenly like, oh my God, I've turned into this like strange alter ego that I didn't know existed until I got a cat. Do you know what I mean? Do you find that? Like, I communicate in such a different way with my cats than I do with humans.
Well, which is the real you, do you think?
That's a great question.
Is the you that's not with the cat a masked version of you, or is the you that's with the cat the real you?
Yeah, I think maybe the way I am with my cat is how I would actually like to be. But when you've got to go to work and you've got to be, around people and,
Yeah.
It's not acceptable to be that excitable all the time.
No. Yeah. I'm the same with my cats as I am.
Oh,
yeah. I just talk to them in this sort of voice about very dull things.
Surely not.
What have you done today? What have you done today then? Been out there.
Stewart, we're going to break for just a second, but we're going to speak to Nicky, who is our cat behaviourist from Cat Protection. So maybe these, burning questions you've always had about cats or anything about your cats that you've always wondered why they do things. And I mean, I always find them, they're so fascinating. My cat will do something every day that makes me go, why have you done that? What are you doing? It's a bit strange. So Nicky is going to be on hand to answer some more questions for us in just a second. We'll be right back on Cat's Got Your Tongue. Welcome back to Cat's Got Your Tongue. My name's Adam Brown and we are still joined by the brilliant Stewart Lee. We're talking all things cats, which has been great to get some insight already, Stewart, about your sort of life with cats and cat ownership and, just how passionate you are about it, because you love them, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
You really do. Yeah. And we're now joined by Nicky Trevorrow from Cat Protection, who's a cat behaviourist and basically my go-to whenever I've got any questions about cats or any concerns or any worries, I'm straight onto the old WhatsApp and I'm asking Nicky what's what. So Nicky, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you. Hi.
We're joined by Stewart. Stewart, is there anything you've always wanted to know about the world of cats?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've got loads, Nicky. Nicky, if you've got one cat and it's on its own, okay, people have got a dog, right? You can't leave a dog on its own because it thinks it's never going to see you again and it gets really depressed and stressed out. But if you've got one cat and you leave it on its own all day, does it care? Does it worry about it? Is it lonely or is it quite happy on its own?
Every cat's different, but the vast majority of cats will be absolutely fine because they've got a good 16 hours of sleep to get through. So, and also even with sleep aside, a lot of cats they're really sort of big creatures of routine and habit, and they've got quite a lot of life going on that most of us are completely unaware of. So if they've got outdoor access, they actually patrol their particular territories at certain times of the day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they've got set routes as well. They can paths through the grass and everything. So they've got their there's stuff going on, and they're usually quite busy, whether it's sleeping or doing other stuff when we're out.
So they've got a full-time job basically that we don't know about,
Yeah.
which is they have to patrol a particular area, and
And
yeah.
it's quite a big job, really, because if you take your cat to the vets and it's got an overnight stay or something, that can completely mess up all the territories and with the lack of patrolling. And it only takes usually like a day or so before like another cat in the neighbourhood will try and come into that territory and then start putting their scent marks around everywhere.
Oh, really? So it has to go out every day,
Yeah.
remark all its territory, and it's worried if it goes away for a night that it's going to get moved in on.
And then, like I say, that tends to happen as well. So then it's stressful when they return. They then got to go back out and then remark everything, and there's potential for conflicts for neighbourhood cats.
So I don't need to worry about them being on their own. If I had one cat and it was on its own, what you're saying is it's got so much work to do.
It's cat's job, yeah, of being a cat.
They'll be occupied anyway. Okay, now my kids and my ex, they've got 3 cats, right? 2 males and a female, and I've got 2 male cats. If you're having more than one cat, what is the best combination, and how does the power structure of their relationships work?
That's a really good question. And again, it's one that many of our listeners will be also thinking the same sorts of things. It's a really common question. So gender or sex of cat doesn't come into it. It does for other species, for other animals, but cats, it doesn't matter, particularly if they're neutered, obviously. So what's more important for cats is the personality type, because some cats will get on with others. And I wish there was some sort of matching thing that told us exactly, like scientifically, which cats will, to predict they will get on with other cats. So at the moment, we tend to use our best judgment. And then age and energy levels is another one. So it's quite classic for someone to have like an elderly cat, and if the other elderly cat passes away, they then think to get a kitten in. But on the whole, it's not an ideal situation because their energy is so mismatched. It's like having a elderly relative and then giving them a toddler and then be like, that's great company for you. So, it's not always the new lease of life that people hope it will be.
Yeah, it's interesting that, Nicky. I always see, there's a lot of misinformation out there as well, I think, when it comes to, the way that you should, maybe get a male and a female, or don't get 2 females or whatever. Because it was always meant to be that like 2 female cats will like battle against each other and all that kind of thing. So you're just saying it doesn't matter, really? Yeah,
it really doesn't matter. And if you're planning to have 2 or more cats, the best thing to do would be to get siblings, because they are much more likely to get along. So related cats, but particularly the siblings, tend to do best. There is something that people need to be aware of, which most people don't know, which is something called social maturity. This is between 18 months and 4 years. And it's a period of time when they kind of get a bit more independent and they can grow apart in those relationships. If people are worried and they're thinking about this and thinking, oh, my cat's in that period right now, have loads of resources. And always got a lot of cat stuff everywhere, food bowls and water bowls and beds and stuff that can help them to ride it out through this period. And if they get to 4 years old, and they're still like rubbing against each other and sleeping together, interlocking paws and stuff, their relationship's still great. It should be fine after that.
Nicky, do different kinds of cats have identifiable different personality traits? Like, for example, all the black cats I've had seem like mysterious loners, like Batman or something. And the tabby cats I've had are the friendliest and most adaptable. And my ex and the kids have got a ginger cat that, again, seems to have a totally different personality. Am I imposing this onto them? Am I imagining this? Or the different kinds of cats have different personality types?
So I think it's one that the public in particular are really, like, cat owners are really keen on this and always have lots of thoughts on the matter. Scientifically wise, there's only been a few studies and they're owner reported. So again, it's not quite as robust as if you had like an independent researcher going in and assessing all the personality types. And in particular, there's a lot more research looking into either the torties or like ginger cats and some of their personalities. There are some studies to show that black and white cats might be potentially more prone to having, like, being a bit more nervous and having predisposition for like urinary tract problems. But I would say it really varies. And I think the biggest thing that people need to take home from thinking about this is actually kitten socialization. It's completely not talked about, and yet this has one of the biggest impacts on the cat's personality. So how well they get used to just handled and used to people, but also like the home environment and everything else, and that will make a huge difference. So like with pedigree cats, for example, some people will be like, oh, these pedigrees are like this, and this other type of breed will be like that. And yet I know pedigree cats that have had zero socialization at all, and they act completely like feral cats. So the socialisation is absolutely key.
So when I say to you that I think tortoiseshell cats are the friendliest cats, that is me I've just made that up.
Not necessarily. I think it's your lived experience. And I had a tortie cat when I was growing up, and she was friendly as well. So, she also had some boundaries, but I think it's hard to generalise across all of them unless we've got the science to help us with it.
I love tortoise-shell cats. They're amazing. Because my old cat was a tortie and my current's a calico. And do you know what I think it is? When I just think the fact that it's the word tortie rhymes with naughty. Because they call naughty torties now. And I'm like,
they do, yeah.
if they were, that's just like that's wordplay. That's not even there's no proof behind it.
That's nominative destiny. Is it right that the ginger cat was brought over by the Vikings?
Oh, now you're testing me.
I think they were, and that's why I think they're so cool, because they're like Viking cats, so they could, yeah.
I know that Vikings used to bring them cats over as a sign of love, and they bring them over for like the wives and say like, "This is how much I love you. Here's some cats."
I mean, who doesn't love that?
Which I think we should bring that back, by the way.
Do you think, Nicky, that a cat knows when it's going to die and takes itself off? Or is it like the elephant's graveyard? Because like everyone's had experience of it. The cat seems to know when the end is coming. Do you think cats understand the idea of death? Do they experience? Okay, when you've got 2 or 3 cats and one of them dies, do they grieve? Do they understand what's happened, or do they just carry on indifferently?
So many great questions. So first and foremost, I was a registered veterinary nurse in practice, and lots of people would say this, particularly if their cats went missing, they just assume the cat had gone off to die, particularly if they were elderly. Whereas I think with the elderly cats, a lot of the times it'd be things like maybe they've got cognitive dysfunction, like dementia, and they've just got a bit lost. Also, where they're more vulnerable and they're a bit more anxious when they're older, they can be easily like displaced from their territory from like other cats and stuff. So I personally don't think that cats go off to die. I think there's actually loads of other things that go on, and that leads to that perception. I think people hear it a lot and therefore assume it to be true. Whereas certainly my experiences of being a veterinary nurse and dealing with kind of end of life situations with cats, I just don't think that's the case. Are cats aware of death and everything else? I don't know for sure, and I don't know what the research says, but I personally feel that I think cats are aware of death, and I think they're aware of the death of others. I also think they're probably more pragmatic than we are as a species as well. And if anyone's wondering, because this is another question that comes up a lot, about whether to show a deceased cat to, like, say, another cat member in the household, everyone's different, and it depends on the views of the owner. But I personally, if people are amenable to it, would recommend it, just to give that sense of closure for the remaining cats and other animals in the household, just so they can see like the cat's died.
Like an Irish funeral.
Like an open casket, you mean?
When you go past the body, yeah.
Well, what was the other? I'm sure I had another question.
Will a cat grieve, for the loss of a person or another cat?
Yes. So again, I'm not entirely sure what the science says on it, but I really do think that cats do grieve. And I've certainly had quite a few behaviour cases where they have certainly grieved like their owners, and they can grieve other cats if they're bonded in the same social group. And I even know a cat that has grieved a dog. It's not as common, but it has happened. That is the dog I've mentioned before, Adam, where the cat and the dog used to hunt together, and the dog used to like flush out the prey and stuff. So so when that dog died, the cat was very upset.
Oh yeah, because they had a team. Yeah,
but on the whole, when it comes to grieving, it's not as common as what people think it is. So everyone assumed the absolute worst when one of their cats dies, that everyone else be devastated. But sometimes the cats are indifferent, which I know is hard for people to deal with. And even hard to still is a lot of cats are reported to blossom, is the word everyone uses. And then that could really bring up some stuff for people about, how was the cat's relationship? And maybe starting to realise that maybe they weren't really friends or in the same social group to start with. But a lot of cats aren't.
Have you ever had that when someone's died? Have you blossomed afterwards? Have you ever felt you didn't realise how much they were annoying you and holding you back until they died? Have you had that?
Not in my life.
Not in your life, no.
No, but certainly I think there's people in the workplace though, isn't there, that like they haven't died, but if they've left, then you're usually quite pleased.
Yeah, or a neighbour that moves.
But you wouldn't. Nicky personally, you wouldn't You wouldn't try to make that happen, though, would you?
Oh, no, no, no.
Do you think cats would do that, though? Do you think a cat would?
No, I really don't think they do. And yet I know of people that feel that like one cat led another cat across the road into an RTA situation, and it's not the case. That's not what happened. So, no.
We have got a question from one of our listeners who often, they have queries themselves and things they want to know. And this is from a younger listener called Darnell, who has got a cat called Cranberry, great name. And he's doing a school project about cats, and he wanted to ask, and this kind of links into some of the things we've touched up on here, actually. He says, and this is a great question from a young guy, he says, is it really true that cats don't need humans?
This is a great question. First of all, Cranberry, excellent name. I love it. So cats as a species, as an animal, don't need other people. So feral cats that are born outside and they've never met people and are scared of people don't need to be with people. They don't want to have an indoor life as a pet cat. Whereas obviously our own pet cats, they have usually our relationship with us and, rely on us for food and shelter and everything else. And therefore those cats do need us. So, and as me and Adam have talked about before, they also do love us as well. So it depends on the individual cat and what they're used to.
So all those things that, like, the cat's loving us and having that, say dependency in quite a loose way, because obviously compared to some other animals, there's not a massive dependence. But is that something that's just come about through the domestication kind of process? It's almost like learned behaviour then.
Yes, you're right. It's through the domestication process, and it will have happened very gradually over time. So cats originally would have been coming into human settlements where people were, and we know the story about how they've started predating on like little mice and other rodents and protecting the grain stores, and then people found it useful and then fed them, and then these cats are more adaptable and then more likely to produce kittens that are again a little bit tamer and eventually more sociable with people. So it sort of builds up their sociability with people and tolerance towards other cats over many, many years. And I think that's worked so well to live with us. But considering many cats have got outdoor access and just choose to come back to us every day, I think that relationship really is there.
It's brilliant, isn't it? Isn't it one of the success stories of the human-animal cooperation? The cat and the human. It warms your heart. Do they make friends across species? Like when I was out for a month in the middle of the night looking for the cat when it was lost, I did genuinely see, in the lawns of the housing estate down there, about 3 a.m, there were often cats and foxes not playing together, but they'd just be lying around together, just 2 or 3 feet away from each other, not seeming to care.
Again, I think this is a great question. There's a lot of fear around cats and foxes, and just want to put that to rest. That I've spoken to the people at various fox charities, and we're both in agreement that cats and foxes are generally not a concern for each other. So I think some cats will have that tolerance towards them. I think some foxes are afraid of cats, and I do know of cats that do just hang out with the foxes and seem to have this like little, I don't know, like almost like a little cat and fox party out in the back garden where all the body language is really relaxed and they're just chilling out there for ages. It's not like it's a standoff or anything like that. So, and cats are able to make relationships across species, and there's plenty of examples of lots of different species. Like certainly I know of, I mentioned the dog earlier, but also sort of horses and donkeys and various other animals. So it is pretty amazing how adaptable they are.
Can any of the fox diseases like mange and stuff, can they transfer across to cats?
So some of the skin type ones can go across to cats, whereas a lot of the more infectious diseases, like some of the viruses, will be species specific.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that you say that you have this like mutual respect between cats and foxes that exists. It's just fascinating to see that, I imagine, Stuart, when you're out and about looking for your cat and you're like, hang on a minute, what's going on here? Just cats and foxes just coexisting. I love it. Stuart, listen, we'd love to we could keep you talking about cats all day, but one question we want to ask you, a question that we always ask our guests on Cat's Got Your Tongue is, what is the best thing about owning a cat?
Well, the best thing about owning a cat is that you're never, even though they're indifferent to you and sometimes, and they live their own life, and like you say, Nicky, they're in full-time employment, which I wasn't aware of. They're in full-time employment with a huge set of responsibilities that they have to address every day. it's the fact of not being quite alone. That there's always this like little story going on in your house of, oh, what have they been up to today and what will they do tonight? And it makes me so happy just to know that they're there, and that they've been getting on with their thing and living their life, which I suspect you've made it sound like their life's a lot better than mine. They have a set of achievable aims every day. I'm in an endless spiral of professional frustration, whereas every day, as long as they do that little circuit, Nicky, you're saying they've had a satisfying day. But that's it. Just the fact that they exist and are here, and also that a creature which shows so many of the traits of a genuine wild animal in its reaction to the world and its alertness, chooses to bring this magic of nature into our home and share it with us before it goes off again to do its actual wild things. It's such a privilege. You don't get that with a dog, do you?
I think that's beautifully put.
Absolutely, Stuart. Such a great way of summing it up. Thanks so much, Stuart, for coming on and talking to us today. We've loved having you and loved finding out a little bit more about your life with cats.
Thanks for having us. Support the cat protection people.
Yeah, thank you, Stuart. And thanks always, Nicky, for giving us more insight as usual. And that's it for this time on Cat's Got Your Tongue. This podcast is made in association with the charity Cats Protection. Thank you, as always, for listening. And remember to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on our next episode. You can find us wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can watch us on YouTube as well. And don't forget, if you've got any questions about cats that you want answered on this podcast, you can get in touch and you might be featured on a future episode. You can give us a shout by emailing pod@cats.org.uk, or you can leave us a voice note on WhatsApp if you want on 07824 55 1076. Don't forget, tell your friends who love cats all about us. Share the podcast, give us a lovely review if you can, and we'll see you next time on Cat's Got Your Tongue. Cats Protection is making a better life for cats because life is better with cats. The charity helps over 500 cats a day, whether that's through rehoming, neutering, or offering valuable cat behaviour and welfare advice to owners. If you'd like to make a donation towards helping more cats and kittens in the UK, visit cats.org.uk/donate.